Welcome back. So this morning we have a level 1 to 2 Vinyasa. As far as props go, you can have blocks around you, but we don't really need anything for this morning. So in a level 1 to 2, throughout the week, the only level 1 to 2s that I've done have been the 25-minute afternoon classes. So this one is a full 60-minute Vinyasa level 1 to 2. So you've got options throughout the class. If you're pretty new to yoga and you're at a beginner level, listen into, I'm going to give you cues for everything. I'm going to give you modifications for everything. We'll move a little bit slower in this class compared to what we do in other classes. Slower in terms of we'll be in postures for a little bit longer so that you have a chance to really actually kind of settle into the posture, figure out what you're supposed to be doing there, what your body is supposed to be doing in each posture. So slower in terms of that. We'll have a little bit more time in each one. The postures won't be as technical, as challenging. They're going to be more simple postures, more basic ones, just to get the body moving, get you to understand what you're doing and understand the basics of these postures. If you've done yoga for a while, if you've practiced for a while and you're just kind of tuning in because you want to just have a little bit of movement this morning, you are welcome to scale things up. We talk a lot about, I give options for scaling things back quite often and making things not as challenging, but you have the option in your practice, if you know what you're doing, to make things a little bit harder. If you want to take different options that I haven't suggested, you're welcome to do that if you want that little bit extra in your practice this morning, but you don't have to. We will be going through Vinyasas. The Vinyasa is the combination of Chaturanga to upward facing dog to downward facing dog. So you will have quite a lot of opportunities to take a Vinyasa throughout the Vinyasa practice. But that is like a strength component to the practice. So if you don't really want those, just skip them. Just skip Chaturanga and upward facing dog whenever I say that they're coming up, and just go straight back into downward facing dog. But you will have modifications for the Vinyasa as well, which I will probably be taking this morning throughout the practice. So anybody really can do this practice. We will be moving a little bit slower, as I said. I will be talking a little bit more so that you have a bit more information on the postures. But apart from that, anybody can do this one, and you can scale up, you can scale back, and it's all yoga, isn't it? So, as I said, you don't really need any props. We are going to go ahead and get started. If you've got music, you can go ahead and start to cue that up, get that prepped and ready for you. I'm not quite sure about my microphone positioning this morning. I think I'm going to have to change it. Give me a second here. I thought that this would work. Excuse me. I think I'm going to take it through my sleeve instead. That's probably going to be a bad idea as well, actually. This week, I think it was on Monday or Wednesday, I had a bit of a mishap with the microphone, and I yanked the cord and pulled the phone over, and my dad saw the clip that I posted of that happening and said, do you want a wireless microphone? So that's being delivered. It's supposed to be delivered today, but we'll see if it makes it here. So hopefully next week I'll have a wireless one. Okay. That's it. I think I've talked enough. So come on into child's pose. Knees coming onto the mat. Your knees here, they can be together or they can be wider apart. Let your big toes touch behind you, and then drop your hips back towards your heels. The hips might not get all the way there. Don't worry if they don't make it. Then walk your arms forwards and let the forehead drop down towards the mat. And I say towards the mat because, again, just like your hips, your head might not get all the way there. Your arms can stay stretched out in front here. If this is really uncomfortable in the arms, then you can bend the elbows maybe, or even take the arms all the way back by your sides. So again, there's a lot of options in the class this morning. And I'll give those to you, and you have the freedom to pick whichever options work best for you.
So once your body has had a chance to settle in to a comfortable position here, then your focus comes onto your breath. Breathing through the nose as much as possible. Just watching as it opens and closes the body. So we're going to take another maybe 5 deep breaths here. Allow your inhales to start getting a little bit longer. And creating a bit more expansion through the body. And the exhales are starting to create a bit of power, using a contraction of your belly and a slight closing at the back of your throat to press and control the air out through your nose. And when those breaths are completed, when you feel settled, use an inhale and bring your body up into tabletop position. So your hands are now just stacked under your shoulders. Your knees are just under the hips, fingertips spreading wide. On the next inhale, come into cow tilt. Drop your belly, lift your chest, and gaze comes up. Exhale, cat's tilt, round the spine. Engage your belly as you lift up towards the ceiling. Back to cow. Inhale, belly drops, chest lifts. Let your shoulders roll back. Exhale, round the spine. Push down through the arms. Spread the shoulder blades as you lift up. Take one more just like that. Long inhale, lifting the chest, opening the front side of your body. Exhale, round up into cat tilt, closing the front side of your body. Inhale, back to neutral. So your gaze is down between the hands again. You're going to thread the needle here. So take your left arm, thread it underneath your right armpit, and set the left shoulder onto the center of your mat. Now relax your neck so the side of your head sets onto the mat as well. Your gaze is going out towards the right side. First option, you can stay here, pressing into the right hand. Second option, you can walk your right arm forwards, getting a bit more length in the right side of your body. Take another 3 breaths here, letting the inhales roll your right shoulder up a little bit, and your exhales roll your right hip back a bit. One more. And then release. Bring the right hand back under the shoulder if it went forwards. Press yourself back up into tabletop. Hands are under the shoulders. Knuckles are pressing down here. 1 cow and cat tilt. Inhale, cow, belly drops, chest lifts. Exhale, cat, round the spine. Neutral, inhale. And then threading the other side. Your right arm threads underneath the left armpit. Set the right shoulder to the center of the mat. Again, you can stay here, pressing into your left arm, or you can walk the left arm forwards. One more. And bring the left hand back under the shoulder. If it went forwards, press yourself back up. And then 1 final cow and cat tilt. Inhale, drop the belly, lift your chest, open. Exhale, round the spine, close. Neutral, inhale. And then you're setting up your first downward facing dog. Tuck your toes under. Push down through the hands and the feet. Lift the knees and then reach the chest back towards your toes. So once the chest is reaching back, let the knees stay bent a little bit. Pay attention first to your hands. Fingers are still spreading and the knuckles are still pressing down. You don't want to dump your weight into your wrist here. Push through the knuckles. Your forearms will be super active with that. Then reach a little further back through the chest. On your next inhale, shift forwards into plank. Shoulders are over your wrists. Hips want to be in line with the rest of the body, so they're probably going to be quite high. Just lengthen your stance a little bit so the hips can be right in line with the head and the heels. Then back to down dog, leaving the hands and feet where you've just set them. Exhale, reach back. Now again, your knees might bend a little bit in down dog. If straightening the legs causes your back to round, just leave some bend in the knees so you can lengthen the spine. Then look forwards. Take small steps and walk your feet to the top of the mat between the hands. Leave your feet separated, hips width apart. Leave the knees bent a little bit and relax the upper body. If it feels good, you can grab your opposite elbows. Otherwise, just leave the arms hanging. And shake your head a little bit no. And a little bit yes. And then come back to stillness. If you took the bind, go ahead, release the arms. Keep the knees bent a little bit and slowly roll up one vertebrae at a time. The head will be the very last thing to lift. Once you're up, feet can walk towards one another here. Your big toes might touch, but they might not. Arms reach down by your sides. Take a deep breath through the nose. Inhale, arms reach up, look up. Exhale, arms come down by your sides. And again, inhale, reach. As the fingers go up, the rib cage stays into the body. Exhale, arms down. Once more. Inhale, reach. This time, fold. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Hands coming down towards the mat. Again, hands might not actually reach the mat. Your knees also might need to bend a little bit to help you down. Inhale, flat back. Lift your chest up away from the legs. Now, for most of you, your hands will come off of the mat. If that's the case, just push into your shins. And then go ahead, fold. Exhale, release. Same thing again. Inhale, flat back. So it doesn't really matter what angle your back is at. What matters is that you're taking this rounding out by reaching your chest forwards and flattening your middle and lower back down. Then go ahead, fold. Exhale, release. Once more. Inhale, flat back. Back to plank. Exhale, plant the palms. Step the feet to the back of your mat. Now, once the feet are back, knuckles are grounded. Go ahead, set the knees down. This is your modified plank. So your pelvis here in your modified plank, it's not tipped up or dropped to the mat. Your pelvis is tucked under. So the belly is strong. Your lower back is lifted just a little bit so that it stays supported. You're coming into your first chaturanga here. Take your time. On your next exhale, start to bend the elbows. Now the hips and the belly don't change. The hips don't tip up or collapse down. Keep them in line with the upper body. Elbows might only bend an inch or so. You might make it to a 90-degree angle in the elbows. But again, the support of your lower back is important. Go ahead, release all the way down onto your belly. So once you're down, release your toes and push down into the tops of the feet so the legs are really active here. Squeeze the shoulder blades together behind you. Inhale, cobra pose, halfway lift up through the chest. So this lift is a pull with the muscles of your back rather than a push with the arms. You're pulling your chest up. Go ahead, release, drop back down. If that felt good, you can slide your hands back another inch. Same thing again. Push down through the tops of the feet. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Inhale, lift the chest. Think about leading with your elbows. Pull the elbows back towards your heels. And then relax, drop back down. So we've got one more. Push down through the feet. Inhale, start to lift the chest. Maybe this time the palms float while the feet stay down behind you. And then release, drop back down. Now tuck your toes under. On your knees or on your toes, come into plank. Lift your belly, push through the hands, and reach the hips up. And then sending it back into downward facing dog. Knees lift and reach back through the chest. Now, if at any point in the practice down dog becomes a little too much, just modify with a child's pose. You can drop the knees down and reach the upper body back. Similar posture, just not quite as much strength involved in it. Take one more deep breath here, reaching back on the exhale. Inhale, look forwards. Step or jump the feet to the top of the mat between the hands. Lift your chest halfway up, flat back. Exhale, fold. Coming to standing with a flat back this time. Inhale, lift your chest, then continue all the way up, lift the arms, lift your gaze. Exhale, arms by your sides. Surya Namaskara A, Sun Salutation A. Inhale, arms reach up, look up. Exhale, fold, hinging at the hips, hands towards the mat. Again, knees might be bent. Inhale, flat back, lift your chest, long spine. Back to plank. Exhale, plant the palms. Step or jump both feet to the back of the mat. First option, knees are down. If that first lowering into chaturanga was challenging, set the knees to the mat. Second option, you can keep the knees lifted. Pelvis is tucked under, chaturanga. Exhale, start to bend the elbows. Again, you might stop only bending the elbows an inch or so. You might make it to 90 degrees. Inhale, first option is cobra. Hips are down, chest is halfway up. Second option is upward facing dog. If you're gonna choose up dog at any point, tops of the feet are pressing down so that your knees and thighs can float. That engagement of your legs, once again, supports your lower back. Take one more breath wherever you are. Downward facing dog. First option, push down through your knees. Second option, push down through the tops of the feet and roll over your toes. So again, just remember those options are all there for a reason. Your body is going to tell you which options are going to work best for you. Sometimes it's the first option, sometimes it's the second option. Take one or two more breaths where you are. On your next inhale, look forwards, step or jump the feet between the hands, lift halfway up, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift your chest. Exhale, plant the palms, lunge your left foot to the back of the mat. Once your left foot is back, drop your back knee down. Now your right heel is going to be directly underneath your knee. If the heel is back or if the heel is lifted, just pull it forwards a little bit until that heel is grounded under the knee. Left hand stays on the mat, right arm turns up to the ceiling into a twist. Couple long breaths here. Thinking about your shoulders here. Let the top shoulder roll back so the chest is open. One more. Downward facing dog. Exhale, right hand to the mat, back knee lifts, and then the right foot steps back. Take a deep breath. A brief three-legged down dog. Lift your right leg up and reach through that right foot. Take one more. Crescent lunge. Inhale, your right foot steps between the hands. So it's the same foot that's come forwards. First option, back knee can be down. Second option, back knee can be lifted. Lift both arms up into your lunge. A few deep breaths. Front knee, once again, right on top of the ankle. Your front knee is also tracking just a little bit out over your pinky toe, making sure your right glute is active to support your hip. Take one more here. Into a fold. Exhale, hands to the mat. Back knee lifts if it was down. Left foot steps up to meet the right. Inhale, flat back, lift your chest. Other side. Exhale, plant the palms. Right leg lunges back. That right knee then sets down. Your right hand is on the mat. Again, adjust this front foot if you need to. Heel is grounded under the knee. Left arm reaches up to the ceiling. So with this top hand as well, you want the palm to be facing in the same direction as your chest. If the palm starts to turn back, the shoulder will start to roll in as well, and you want the chest open here. Take another 2 or 3. Even with that top shoulder open, your bottom shoulder wants to open as well. So that's not rolling forwards, it's rolling back also. Last one. Downward facing dog. Exhale, left hand down, back knee lifts, left foot steps back. Three-legged down dog. Ground through the hands. Lift the left leg up. Reach back through both hips. Reach back through both shoulders. Take one more. Crescent lunge. Floating foot. Left foot steps forwards. Again, first option, back knee down. Second option, keep it lifted. Both arms overhead. Front knee, once again, a little bit out over the pinky toe.
And the palms here, palms want to face in towards one another. If the palms start to turn out, then the shoulders once again will roll in, and you want the chest to be open. Take one more. Next exhale, hands to the mat. Back knee lifts up if it was down. Right foot steps up to meet the left. Inhale, flat back, lift your chest. Through a vinyasa. Exhale, plant the palms, step or jump the feet to the back of your mat. First option, knees down. Second option, knees up. Chaturanga. Exhale, bend the elbows. Keep the belly lifting. Inhale, first option, cobra. Second option, upward facing dog. Strong legs, whatever you've got. Press through the feet. Downward facing dog, lifting the belly and sending the body back. Take just one more breath where you are. And then warrior two. Inhale, your right foot steps between the hands. Once your right foot is forwards, your back heel spins in and down, then windmill the arms up and open so your chest is facing over the left side of your mat. Now, take a look at your feet. Back toes are facing out over the left edge of your mat. Front toes are still facing forwards. Front knee, just like in your lunge a moment ago, hasn't dropped in over your it has not dropped in over your big toe. It's driving out over your pinky toe. Reach forwards and back through the fingers. Take one more breath here. Then coming into extended side angle, Parsvakonasana. Bring your right forearm and set it down onto your right thigh. Then your left arm reaches overhead over the front edge of your mat. Now, feet are still doing the same stuff. Pressing into the outer edges of both of your feet. This front hip is still open, so your knee hasn't collapsed in here. That front knee is still driving out, so your right hip is getting some opening. Take 2 more breaths. Last one. Then come back up to the top. Pull up through the left arm, warrior two. Arms reaching forwards and back. Now coming into eagle arms. So the legs, the lower body stays as it is. Take your left arm, your back arm, and wrap it underneath your right. Then take the hands behind your back. So this is a variation of eagle arms. We're not quite going into the full bind here. Once you have your hands behind your back, pull the shoulder blades down so the neck is long, and then start to lift your elbows up without letting the shoulders creep back up. So the shoulders pull down first, then the elbows lift up and pull forwards away from you. You should feel some opening in the upper back here. Take just one more. And then release the arms forwards and back to warrior two. Front leg goes straight, setting up triangle pose. So the toes are still facing forwards in the front foot and out in the back foot. Inhale, start to reach forwards through the right fingers. Right fingers are pulling all the way towards the front of your mat as the front hip, this right hip, gets driven back the way. Once you can't get any further forwards, the right hand comes down to the leg somewhere, and the left arm goes straight up, this time towards the ceiling. So you're driving through your front heel, trying to push this right hip further back. That's going to give more and more opening in the inside of your front leg. It's also going to help create more length in the underside of your body. Take one more here. Then back to warrior two. Bend your front knee, reach up through the left arm, downward facing dog. Exhale, hands to the mat, right foot steps back. Take another deep breath. Other side. Inhale, the left foot steps between the hands. Warrior two, your back heel spins in and down. Windmill the arms up and open. So once you're lifted, feet again first. Back toes facing to the right, front toes facing forwards, and you're pressing into the outer edges of both feet. So we already talked about the front leg. Pressing into the outer edge of your front foot helps keep the knee out. Pressing into the outer edge of your back foot helps to prevent this back hip from collapsing down, which would collapse into your lower back. Pushing back brings engagement into that leg and helps to lift this hip up. Take one more breath here. Extended side angle. Exhale, left forearm comes down onto your front thigh. The right arm reaches overhead to the front wall or to out over your front mat, the front edge of your mat. So all the same stuff is still happening in the lower body. Front knee out, back hip rolls up.
The upper body has a little bit of rotation in it as well. This top set of ribs are rolling up and back, and the bottom set of ribs might be coming underneath you a little bit as well. Last breath. Warrior two, push through the legs. Inhale, lift up through the back arm. Eagle arms. Now, back hand, your right arm is going to come underneath your front arm. Hands then wrap behind your back. Same stuff is happening from here. Once you have the hands behind you, shoulders pinned down, then the elbows start to move up away from the chest. 2 or 3 more breaths. Legs stay the same. Little opening in your upper back. When you're ready, release the bind, arms forwards and back. Front leg goes straight, Trikonasana triangle pose. Inhale, start to reach forwards through the left fingers. Now, as the upper body goes forwards, watch that this left hip doesn't shoot out behind you. That's going to close off your inner left thigh. You want that hip to stay under the body. So as you're going forwards, just pay attention if that starts to happen. If it does, then just stop wherever it does. And then, once you can't go any further, left hand comes towards your leg and the right arm straight up towards the ceiling. Long breaths. Still the same press into the outer edges of your feet. Grip with all 10 toes, push into the heels. Take one more here. Then you're coming back up to warrior two. Bend your front knee, reach up through the back hand. Downward facing dog. Exhale, hands to the mat. Left foot steps back. First option, a little rest. Take child's pose, knees to the mat, hips back, head relaxes down. Second option is a vinyasa and then child's pose. If you want the vinyasa, inhale forwards to plank. Knees up or down. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, back, downward facing dog. Child's pose. Everybody into child's pose if you're not there already. So you might have a slightly different variation of child's pose here than what you took right at the start of the class. That's normal. Your body's had a little bit of opening now, so it might feel like it needs something slightly different. Take 2 or 3 more breaths. And then when you're ready, come on up into tabletop position. That same position you came into right at the start of class. Fingers are spreading, knuckles are grounded. Now from here, make sure that your belly is active here, your lower back isn't dropping to the mat. Keep the pelvis tucked under a bit. Your right leg reaches back, straight back through the right leg. Now the right leg doesn't necessarily want to be lifting up, because what that's going to do is, if you check out my lower back there, when the leg goes too high, the hips will start to tip up and your belly's going to start to drop. You want that lower back to stay neutral. So you might not go quite as high. Keep reaching back through the right leg. Then start to open your hip. So keep both arms straight. Start your right hip rolling up and over towards the ceiling. Now you might also here bend your right knee and reach that right heel, the right toes out over the left side of your mat. Again, both arms want to stay straight. Don't let the left side collapse. Keep pushing down through it. Lift a little higher through your right knee. Reach a little further through the right toes. Take one more. Then come back to that neutral floating position. So roll the right hip back down, kick straight back through the right leg, belly is lifted, and then release. Right knee sets down onto the mat. Your left leg lifts up, again just to a neutral position, reaching straight back, not collapsing into the lower back. Keep the belly lifted. Then start to spin the left hip up and over. There's engagement in the bottom leg here as well. That right leg is working, helping the left leg up and around. Again, you might bend your left knee, reach the left toes out over the right side of your mat. Both arms are still straight, push down through them. Another 2 or 3 breaths. Lift your left knee a little higher if it'll go. And then slowly start to come back around to the center. Belly lifts up. Left leg kicks straight back. And and then release left knee onto the mat. Now, back to the right leg. Go ahead, extend your right leg back once again. Once the right leg is back, press down through the right hand and lift your left arm up. If this is a little bit too much, you can keep the left hand on the mat and you'll just be moving the back leg. But if it's possible, add in that left arm reaching forward. So it's the opposite hand and foot. Again, belly hasn't collapsed. Keep that lifted up. Take a big inhale for length. Exhale, bring the knee to the elbow underneath the body. You're rounding your spine upwards. Inhale, extend forwards and back through the hand and the foot. Exhale, knee to the elbow underneath you. Inhale, reach only to that neutral position. Once more, exhale, pull them together. Inhale, extend. And then release hand and knee, set back down. Well done. Other side. So, left leg moves first. And again, if you're going to keep the hand on the mat, again, it's just the back leg that's moving. The knee will come in as we start to do these movements. When you're ready, if you're going there, right arm starts to extend forwards. Keep driving down through this left hand. Keep the knuckle pressing down. Don't collapse into the shoulder. Push out of it. Big inhale for length. Exhale, knee to the elbow. Inhale, reach. Again, exhale, knee to the elbow. Lift the belly up. Find some engagement in the belly. Inhale, reach. Last one. Exhale. Inhale. And then release hand and knee down onto the mat. We've got one more. Go ahead, take child's pose for a moment. Hips back towards the heels. Relax the upper body down. A little rest before this final one. And then when you're ready, go ahead, bring yourself back up into tabletop. So this last one is going to be a bit of a back bend again. Now on that, the first one that we did, you lifted your right leg, you spun the hip open, you reached out through the right toes. That's going to be your first option actually to return and do that one again and see if maybe you can go a little bit further now. Otherwise, if you're going to take the little back bend that I'm going to offer, go ahead, extend your right leg back. So everybody extend your right leg back. If you're taking the further variation, the left arm reaches forwards again. So once again, it's the opposite hand and foot. This time, bend your right knee, reach back with the left hand, and see if you can grab a hold of that right ankle. Again, if you're not taking this option, what you're gonna do is you can start now, roll the hip up, bend the knee, and reach out through the right heel. If you have the bind, start to kick up, straight up, through the heel and through the knee of the right leg. Your chest is going to lift. Your belly is going to drop a little bit. It is a bit of a back bend. Keep pushing through the right arm. Take one or two more. Both arms are straight if you have both hands on the mat. Back to your neutral balance. So release your bind. Lift the belly up, forwards and back through the hands and foot. And then release hand and knee onto the mat. Child's pose. Knee, hips back. Upper body relaxes. Go ahead, bring yourself back up into tabletop. You're almost there. Once you're in tabletop, left leg reaches back. Belly is strong. If you're taking the full back bend, the right arm reaches forwards. If you're skipping this, you can start opening the hip here. If you're taking the bind, bend your left knee, reach back with the right hand. See if you can take that hold. When you're ready, start to kick. Again, if you have the bind, you're kicking straight up, seeing how high you can lift your knee. So you've got a really strong grip with the right hand so that you can kick the foot into it. The chest is lifting a bit. You're pushing down through the left hand. One or two more. When you've had enough, come back to your balance. Belly lifts, arm and foot forwards and back. And then release hand and knee set down. Child's pose. Hips back, relax the upper body forwards. And when you're ready, downward facing dog. If you need a vinyasa, you're welcome to take it. Moving through chaturanga, up dog, and down dog, but they're not necessary. Take another breath wherever you are. Then inhale, step the right foot forwards between your hands. Set the back knee down onto your mat. Once the back knee is down, keep the back toes tucked under. You might find the urge to release your back toes, but keep them tucked. It's going to help with your balance in a moment. Go ahead, lift the chest, lift the arms up overhead. So this is a modified crescent lunge. Then bring your palms to prayer at your chest center. We're coming into a twist. Usually I give you the first option first, the easier option first. I'm going to give you the full option first, and then I'll scale it back if you realize that you need a little bit of help in the posture instead. So from here, go ahead, hinge forwards in your hips, and then turn to the right. This left tricep is going to go over to the outside of your right thigh. Now what you can do here to get yourself a little further, I'm going to demonstrate on the other side so you can see, is if you've only got maybe the tip of the elbow on the top of the thigh, then use your top hand and push yourself further over. You want more tricep on the outside of the leg rather than elbow on the top of the leg. Then just bring the palms back to prayer. If that's not happening, if you don't have the space to get any tricep on the outside of the leg, take your left hand, that's your bottom hand, bring it underneath your right thigh and grab a hold of the outside of the leg from the bottom. Your top hand is then going to push into the top of the knee, and that's where you're going to find your twist. If you're working with palms up prayer, you're pressing through the hands to roll your shoulders up and open. Now you've got another few breaths here. If you want this practice to be a little bit more challenging, you can take your back knee off of the mat. You can think about lifting that back knee up, but take your time if you're going there. Wherever you are, the twist is a priority. So your hips are reaching back, your chest is coming forwards, and then you're turning your chest, your rib cage up over the right side of your mat. One or two more. Last one. Release. Both hands come down to the mat. Lizard lunge. Front foot is going to heel toe out to the right side of your mat. The right hand comes inside of that foot. Now, front knee is directly on top of your ankle. It's going to stay there. You want some more opening in your hips here. So instead of dropping your hips forwards, which is going to shoot your front knee forwards, keep that leg where it is. Walk your back knee away from you. That'll give you some more space in your hips to drop down. You might not need to go very far. You might already feel a whole lot in your hips. So you can stay exactly where you are. Now, first option, stay there. Long spine, reaching the chest forwards. Second option, you can get a little bit lower in the upper body. Maybe the hands just walk forwards a couple inches. You might have a block, in which case you can set your forearms onto a block at whatever height works for you. Or your forearms might be able to drop all the way down to the mat. Wherever you are, front knee on top of the ankle. That's not just forwards and back on top of the ankle, but that's side to side as well. Watch that the knee isn't dropping way out to the side. Keep it in tight. Take another 2 deep breaths into your hips. Last one. Now from here, start to push your hips back. Front leg starts to straighten out. Hanumanasana, half Hanumanasana. Blech, half Hanumanasana. So as the front leg goes straight, some of you will find it quite easy to keep your hands on the mat. Some of you will not. If that's the case, if this is pretty difficult and your leg is not going straight or your upper back is super rounded, then lift your upper body up, bring your hands onto your hips, let that front leg straighten, flex the ankle if your balance will allow it. Inhales, lengthen. Exhales, hinge and fold. Your fold is a hinging motion in your hips, not a rounding motion in your upper back. Keep the chest open. Your hands can stay on your hips. They might come onto your thigh. They might make it to your shin or, to a block if you've got one. Or the hands might make it all the way down to the mat. It's up to you. We're looking for the information in the back of your right leg. Take another 2 or 3 breaths. Engage your right quad. That's going to help to push the leg a little further open. Last one. Then release. Bend your front knee, palms to the mat, downward facing dog. Push down through the hands, lift the back knee, right foot steps back. First option, stay in down dog, rest for a few more moments. Second option, take a vinyasa. If you want the vinyasa, inhale, plank, knees up or down. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Really strong upper back. Exhale, downward facing dog. Other side. Inhale, left foot between the hands. Drop the back knee down onto your mat. Bring the hands up overhead, a low crescent lunge. Now from here, palms to prayer. We're setting up that twist again. Once the palms are pressing together, hinge forwards and then turn. Turn your chest over your left thigh, right tricep to the outside of the thigh. Again, use your arms to push you a little deeper in, or modify with the right arm coming under, left hand pushing into the top of that leg. Whatever option you've got, and if you're going further, you can go ahead whenever you're ready, lifting your back knee. But whatever options you've got, first, make sure that as you push the arms or pull into that front leg, that it's not collapsing inwards. Engage the glutes, send the knee out, push the leg into the arms as well. Then, you've also not closed off the space between the body and the leg too much. You need a little bit of lift so that you have space to turn. Take another 2 or 3 deep breaths. Again, your twist is your priority. Turning the rib cage away from your hips. Last one. And then release. Release the bind. Hands come to the mat. Lizard lunge. Left hand inside of your left foot as the foot heel toes out to the side edge of your mat. Again, heel just underneath your knee. Back knee might be able to walk away from you, letting your hips go lower. It might not. When you're settled, either stay where you are or you can lower the upper body. Again, use props if you need them. So both of your hips are getting a little bit of information here. Your back hip is getting information through the front of the leg by the hips lowering. The front hip is getting information somewhere maybe on the inside, maybe in the top of the leg, by the upper body lowering. So there's a little bit of both happening here. Take another just 2 deep breaths. And then you're setting up Hanumanasana. So it's a slightly wider stance than usual. Sometimes you've got this left foot straight out in front of the hip. We've got the foot a little bit wider, which should probably give you a bit more space. So go ahead, send your hips back. Front leg starts to straighten, hands walk back. Again, hands can come up onto your hips so that you can get length first and then start the fold. If you're able to, flex your front ankle. Front leg is straight. Long breaths into this left hamstring here. Now your left heel is kicking forwards. If you have the ankle flexed, think about kicking forwards through the heel. The left hip is pulling back a little bit, so you're lengthening the leg from both ends, moving forwards and back. Take 2 more. Last one. And then release. Bend your front knee, hands to the mat, down dog. Left foot steps back. And then setting up your very last vinyasa. Inhale, forwards to plank. Exhale to chaturanga with modifications where needed. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Upper back peels you up. Downward facing dog. Exhale. Coming all the way through into a seat. Inhale, step or jump all the way up and through. Have a seat on the mat. You might have crawled. Stepping or jumping are not the only 2 options there for getting forwards. Go ahead, bring the legs straight out in front of you. Now, if you find it difficult here to extend your legs, grab a block or a pillow, or you can just kind of roll up the back edge of your mat and you can sit on that. That little bit of height in your hips will give you a bit more space to lift up through your lower back rather than collapsing back into it. Once you've got your hips settled, kick forwards through your heels. Lift up, inhale, reach forwards, exhale, fold, hinging at the hips. Again, folding as a hinging motion, not a rounding motion. Once you can't go any further, relax your shoulders, grab something on your legs. It might be your shins, it might be the ankles, it might be your feet. Long, deep breaths here. Now, even in static postures, your breath is still working with you. Your inhales are opening the body and creating space in the body. The exhales are deepening, taking the body into the space that you've just created for it. Take 2 more. And then release. Inhale, come back up to the top. Bend your right knee up towards you. First option, just keep the right foot inside of your left thigh. Second option, if it will happily go there, take the right foot to the outside of your left thigh. If you can ground that foot without your upper body being pulled into some crazy position here, then that's a good option to take. From there, you're twisting wherever the foot is placed. First option, left arm wraps around the front of your right leg. Second option, your left tricep is going to go over the knee to the outside of your thigh. Now, wherever you are, push down into the right foot, kick forwards through the left leg, bring the right hand onto the mat just behind you. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, twist. Again, using that breathing. Inhale's creating some space, creating some height. Exhale's creating some twist. Maybe 2 more. Let that right shoulder that's behind you roll back and open. Last one. And then release. Come back around to the center. Right foot comes back inside of the leg. If it was outside, kick it forwards. A quick fold forwards. Inhale, open. Exhale, fold. Just a breath or 2 there. And then come back up to the top, other side for your twist. Bend the left knee up towards you. Again, first option, keep it inside of the thigh so it can ground. Second option, take it outside of the thigh if it can ground. Take the same arm variation from the first side as well. First option, right arm around the front of your leg. Second option, tricep over the knee to the outside of it. So you're turning to the left this time. Take the left hand onto the mat behind you. Legs are strong. Inhale, lift. Exhale, twist. Deep breaths. Two more. And then release back to the center. Bring the left foot inside of the thigh if it was outside. Bring your right knee up towards you as well. Both knees are up. Drop the knees out to the side, Baddha Konasana. So the soles of the feet are touching. Feet, bringing them closer. You can do that if you have the ability to. If you bring the feet closer and you drop back, you've gone a little too far. So just move them forwards again. Bring the feet forwards as well will take you more into your lower back, outer hip area. Bringing them closer in is a bit more into your inner thighs. So it could be a matter of preference as well for some of you. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, fold. Now you can hold on to your shins. You can hold on to your feet. You can walk the hands out in front of you. Just remember, once again, your fold is a hinge, not a rounding. So let the shoulders draw back. Reach up through the chest. And think about your belly button coming towards your heels. Belly button to your heels is where you're going. 2 or 3 more. And then release. Come all the way up to the top. Draw the knees up into your chest. Come on down onto your back. Take the knees with you as you roll back and down. Once you're here, you're setting up bridge pose. So release your knees, feet onto the mat. Your feet are just about hips width apart. They might be slightly wider if it's more comfortable. The heels want to be just out of reach of your fingers. So if you can bring them close enough that you can just tap your heels and then maybe walk them an inch or so away. Your heels are also a little bit wider than your toes. You're just slightly pigeon-toed here. Now grip the mat with all 10 toes, ground into your heels. Inhale, start to lift your hips up towards the ceiling. As the hips lift, your pelvis is tucking upwards. You not collapse your hips forwards and lifting with your belly. You want to lift with your pelvis. From there, walk the shoulder blades together underneath you so the chest is a bit more open. First option, stay, pushing into the hands. Second option, interlace the fingers underneath you, reaching the knuckles to your heels. The chest is your priority here. It's not necessarily trying to get your hips as high as possible, but trying to get your chest as open as possible. So drive back through the legs, pushing your chest open towards your chin. 2 more breaths. If you took the bind of the hands, go ahead, release it. Separate the shoulder blades. Upper back comes into the mat. And then roll down 1 vertebrae at a time. So the middle back comes down before the lower back does. And once you're on the mat, just take a few deep breaths. Let the lower back settle in. And then draw the right knee into your chest. Wrap the arms around your right leg, and you can release the left leg long if it feels nice. And then bring the left knee up towards you. Take a hold of the left leg and release the right leg long. And then bring the right knee back up towards you so both knees are drawing in for a breath. And release the knees. Set the feet back to the mat just like they were in bridge pose. Then, keeping the shoulders in the center of the mat where they are, your hips are going to move to the right side of the mat. So hips shift over to the right. Your chest again stays where it is. Now, you have 2 options for your twist here. Your first option, just have your knees together and we'll move from there. Your second option, which will be a deeper variation for the legs, is to cross the right thigh on top of your left. So your hips moved to the right side and it's the right thigh on top of the left thigh if you're taking the deeper variation. Wherever the legs are, whether they're crossed or not, draw the knees up into your chest and then drop the knees across to the left side of the mat. So again, the hips went to the right, but the knees are going to the left. Then your gaze drops out over your right shoulder. And you're just breathing here into the right side of your body, using the inhales to gain a bit more length between the right hip and the right shoulder. And using the exhales to just allow a little bit more rotation at the center of your spine. Go ahead and start coming back to the center. Just unwind the legs, bring the hips back to the middle of your mat. Draw the knees into your chest once again. Take a couple breaths. And then set up the other side. Set the feet down. Your hips move to the left side of your mat. If you're crossing the legs, it's left on top of right. Knees pull up into your chest. Knees drop across to the right side of the mat. Gaze dropping out over your left arm. Again, just continuing that long, intentional breath through the nose for a few more.
And when you're ready, come back to the center, unwinding the body. The knees can pull in. And then when you're ready, you're preparing yourself for your Shavasana. So if you have any props like pillows or blankets or anything, you can go ahead and start to prepare those. If you have music, you can start to cue up whatever song you'd like to have on. If there's a favorite shape for your body, go ahead and start to find it. Otherwise, the legs can just release long, letting them go to the mat. The arms can drop by your sides. The palms facing upwards. Close your eyes. Shavasana. Release the fingers and the toes. Release the ankles and wrists. The knees and elbows. Let the hips sink down into the mat as the legs flop open away from one another. The shoulders melt down as your breath returns to normal. Your lips may slightly part as you release your jaw, letting the tongue come away from the roof of your mouth. Softening the space between the eyebrows. Softening the space behind the ears. Listening to any sounds that may be around you. Letting them wash over your body. Creating stillness. Watching as your thoughts come in and out through your mind. letting them finish. Letting them pass. Without creating any attachments to them. Finding the space that exists inside your mind. And finding some peace. Slowly beginning to deepen your breath. Beginning to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Circling the ankles and wrists. Rocking the head from side to side. Inhale to reach the arms overhead, reaching long through the fingers and through the toes. Exhale, draw the knees into the belly, wrap the arms around them, giving yourself one last big hug, rocking from side to side. Eventually winding up on your right hand side, using your right bicep as a pillow. Remaining in Shavasana with your eyes closed. And when you're ready, press into your left palm, coming up to any comfortable seated position. Palms may press together at chest center if you choose. May you take only what is offered, take only what you need, and always give more than you take. Stay safe, stay kind, and stay patient. Thank you. Namaste.